I now call to order this meeting of the Standing Finance Committee. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 82.6 and 87, this meeting of the Standing Finance Committee was convened to consider proposals for the variation of appropriations for fiscal year 2019. Honorable members, in accordance with Standing Order 45.1, the speaking time in Standing Finance Committee shall not exceed 5 minutes on each intervention. The proposals for variation decreases will be considered first, then proposals for variation increases, and thereafter the proposals for write-offs of losses for fiscal 2019. And we shall proceed as follows. The head and the amount to be varied will be announced. The minister with responsibility will then be invited to explain the purpose for the variation. I will then propose the question that the head be varied. Members may then seek clarification from the minister. Once this is concluded, I will then put the question that the sum to be varied be approved. The procedure will be repeated for each head. A similar procedure will then follow for the approval of the write-off of losses. The committee is also being asked to note that the Minister of Finance has approved the transfer of funds in the sum of $1,310,034,704 between subheads under the same head of expenditure for fiscal year 2019. These transfers do not require the approval of the committee. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposals for variation for fiscal year 2019. The proposals for decreases will be considered first, followed by the proposals for decreases. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposals for decreases for fiscal year 2019. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities. Clarification?
The transfers between ministries, as you said, is not for approval by the committee, but can we ask questions in respect to those transfers between within ministries, between different heads?
Member, for point of order, as I said, this is basically for noting, so that there's no discussion on this in the Standing Finance Committee, but you know that there is a wider discussion to follow in the debate. Okay, so Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, a decrease of $255,369,874. I will now invite the Minister of Public Utilities, Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf...
1 minute, please, Minister of Finance.
I'm so sorry.
I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Honorable members, Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Public Utilities, the notes are self-explanatory. These are finance matters, and these would have been matters arranged by the Ministry of Finance on behalf of the Ministry of Public Utilities. There is an arrangement that has been made to sort out long outstanding arrears to the National Gas Company through a bond issue. And there was a revision of the amortization schedule. So that saved $1,133,482. And then with respect to the Water and Sewerage Authority, what we have chosen to do is to take out a loan in the sum of US $100 million to settle payments due to the SALCOT. And therefore, the Water and Sewerage Authority is not required to make these payments directly. When you add the two numbers together, you get $255,369,874. and that is required to deal with the next item, which would be debt service payments by the Ministry of Finance.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2019 appropriation for Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, be varied by a decrease in the sum of $255,369,874. Member for Caroni Central.
Does the decrease which you categorize as savings for repayment of the loan at T&Tech and the refinancing of the loan amortization, you say, does that mean that later payments might be higher?
No, I don't think so. Are you referring to 04000918 or 06000451? Which one of them?
The T&Tech loan.
No, there was a reduction in the semi-annual installment. No, I do not think so. I can get clarification on that. I think this is a reduction going forward, but I will check it for you.
Okay. The question I'm asking is whether a reduction now.
I got that. And
Right,
I said,
okay.
no, I do not
Fine.
think so.
Fine.
I believe this reduction
But you'll check.
continues going forward, but I will
Okay.
double check for you.
Okay, thanks.
Member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Chair, Honorable Minister, on the WASA issue of 254 million plus, it is written here, a government guaranteed loan in the sum of US 100 million was negotiated to enable WASA to repay its revolving credit facility and outstanding obligations to DSALCOT. The equivalent of 100 million US is possibly about, if we use the conversion factor, 6.82. It's about 682 million. What is happening to the rest of the loan? You see, you WASA 254 million. What is the rationale in the discrepancy between 254 and 682 million? Why you took a loan of 100 million and you see WASA is 254 million? Could you explain it? I am a little puzzled about it.
Sure. Firstly, the exchange rate is 6.80, not 6.82. And secondly, there's no discrepancy at all. We're simply closing the accounts. This was an allocation made to WASA in fiscal 2019, which was not required because loan financing was arranged to take care of this payment. So there's no discrepancy. And the 100 million is not just for fiscal 2019, it's also for fiscal 2020. So it takes care of all the SALCOT payments for fiscal 2020.
So this 254 would have taken care of
That would have been the fiscal 2019 requirement, but the 680 million is for 19 and 20. WASA does have the ability to pay part of the DSALCOT bill, but not the whole amount. So this is to take care of the difference.
So it's approximately around 400 million.
That's the
Amount left.
the amount that WASA is unable to pay without assistance from the Treasury. Okay?
All right, thanks. For fiscal 19.
Yeah, this loan will take care of 19 and 20.
20, okay.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honourable Minister, so that therefore the arrears that are outstanding are arrears for 2019 and future in 2020.
This was intended to clear off the arrears and put WASA in funds to pay.
But I just want to be clear, the outstanding period is for 2019 alone? Or
Well,
it
we are
goes
closing
further
the
back?
accounts for 2019, so this refers to 2019.
Okay.
Okay?
So I'll take Member for Superior.
So, Minister, this 100 million, if I'm to understand what you just said, is for 19 and 20, but we're closing 19 books. Why are we mixing that with 2020?
We're not mixing, it's just simply an explanation. I could have said that 24 million US of the 100 million is designed to deal with this. It doesn't really matter.
Minister, therefore, I will kindly ask you, if we're closing 2019, how much is for 2019?
You mean
Of
how much
this?
of this? Sure, I can give you that information. I don't have it with me, no.
May I also ask on the with the TNTech fixed rate bond? Minister, I recall that you said something about NGC.
Well, TNTech has always struggled to pay NGC. They've taken loans time after time after time. There was a loan taken out by your administration just before the 2015 general election, over $1 billion. And these arrears just pile up. TNTech can't pay for gas, as you know. So this is part of the arrangements made by successive governments to deal with that problem. And also there are problems with paying payments at TGU. TNTech
Yes.
cannot easily make all these payments.
Minister, can you kindly share with us what was the revision to the
Yes,
schedule
I'll
that you
provide
mentioned?
that this afternoon.
But the debate is this afternoon.
Yes, I'll provide it this afternoon.
Well, that seems very good, so we will not be able to read it in time for the debate.
It's a very simple
Well, if it's so
formula.
simple, tell us.
This afternoon.
Member for Caroni Central.
Yes. As I understand it, the amount due to DeSalcott is, in fact, 200 million. And this is $100 million. What would this satisfy all the requirements due to DeSalcott?
As I told the member for Caroni
Caroni
East, WASA has the capability to pay part of
Part.
DeSalcott's bill, and this is to take care of the part that they cannot pay.
Okay. Could I ask the source of the loan?
I beg your pardon?
Source of the loan?
Commercial sector. I can give you the name of the bank later. Local commercial sector.
Local commercial.
Local
bank.
commercial banking sector.
Okay. Could give us a name later?
This afternoon.
Yes.
Member for Tabakeet.
Yeah, the 100 million, as I understand it, is to pay past debts and to keep the revolving credit going. How do you intend to get out of this perpetual debt trap with DeSalcott and WASA? Because it seems to me that WASA couldn't meet the payments owed to DeSalcott. One day DeSalcott could decide to come shutting down the plant and the country will be starved of water. How do you intend to get out of this situation? Because it seems to me we're in a perpetual debt situation with DeSalcott and WASA.
This is true. It's something that was done by another government, not by our government. It is a fact.
But
that
Minister, whether
we are
it's-
committed to make these payments.
Sure. Minister, whether it's done by one government or the other government, there's a responsibility to ensure the security of hygienic water for the country. And one wants to feel secure sitting in the parliament here that the minister will tell us, look, I have a plan to get out of this debt trap or this perpetual debt trap that's going to occur. Because what you're doing, you're taking money and sinking it into debts gone, and you have a revolving credit, and you're not able to cover the cost that DeSalcott is really charging you, and you don't have a stream of income in WASA that is going to cover it. So you, as the government, keep stepping in with taxpayers' money, as it were, to fund that. What is the intention of the government, the plan of the government to get out of this perpetual debt?
Minister of Finance.
I think this is rather curious, Madam Speaker. This is a debt trap that the UNC put us into. And in 2014, I am told, the UNC negotiated higher rates, increasing the debt trap. So you're asking me now how to deal with the debt trap that you put us in?
But, Minister, haven't you considered, as Minister of Finance, alternatives at WASA in terms of generating new wells and new supplies of water, or even getting into other desalcot plants which will not have a private operator like you have now, really streaming down your neck with these high costs that you eventually cannot pay? The customer is going to be beaten twice. One, if desalcot decides to close down the plant and we don't get water. And secondly, if they continue to raise the prices and you cannot meet it from WASA to pay it. You have to keep stepping in.
I am very perplexed. You entered into a take-or-pay contract with desalcot, so it doesn't matter whether we produce water from other sources. Whether we take this water or we don't take this water, or there are other desalination plants or surface water production, it doesn't matter.
But
you
Minister,
entered into a take-or-pay contract. You, the UNC, entered into a take-or-pay with...
Minister, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
You're hearing me? You sure you know?
Yes, I am. And I also want to ask you this question, Minister, through the Speaker, which is this. You pride yourselves, like you have done, and boasted that your government have done a lot of renegotiation of contracts. How come you have not stepped in to renegotiate this, therefore, with WASA to the benefit of the citizens of the country?
This contract is ironclad. You did that. Your government did that. Take-or-pay ironclad contract in US dollars.
So the blame game continues.
That's your fault.
Member for Caroni East.
I was going to ask the Honorable Minister to give us an appreciation this morning. What is the annual payment made to desalcot? Well, part of this payment is going to 2019, 2020.
You're going to ask me or you're asking me?
I'm asking you.
Okay. I think it's about 70-30. I'll get the correct figures for you, and the Minister of Public Utilities will sort that out as well. I believe it's about just over 70 million per year. That's my 70 million US dollars.
And how much you receive from the companies that...
I don't have that information.
All right.
Member for San Fernando West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as Attorney General, a question was asked across the floor that I'm compelled to intervene on. The member for Tabaquite asked a question about the arrangements and renegotiations relative to the desalcot company. As a matter of record, Madam Chair, the first tranche legal arrangement put in place by a then UNC government birthed a take-or-pay arrangement on the production of desalinated water. That was then renegotiated by the Siparia-led government in the period 2010 to 2015. For the record, that particular agreement is a take-or-pay obligation. What it means for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago is, if you don't take a drop of water produced by the desalination company, you have to pay for everything that you were supposed to take at the agreed production rate. In other words, they entered into a contract to produce a certain volume. If the taxpayers are not taking a drop of water, they still have to pay for it. And worse yet, Madam Chair, that arrangement was negotiated in US dollars. Water produced in Trinidad by a local company, sold on the local market, the taxpayers have to find US dollars, tens of millions of US dollars. And this particular head of 100 million US dollars, Madam Chair, closing off fiscal 19 and anticipating fiscal 20, is a direct burden upon the taxpayers of this country. So I find it very curious that the member for Tabaquite now asks about the renegotiation. The government has looked at that contract, and we are not able to renegotiate the contract until it expires. And as far as I remember, it does not expire until 2036. So we have been saddled, the member for Tabaquite has called it a debt burden, by the member for Tabaquite's government twice. And we are bound to find US dollars to put this right.
Member for Chaguanas West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that there's a lot of misinformation being spoken about in this House today. In 1999, there was a significant water shortage in the country. You could not build a dam except within a 7-year period with all the environmental considerations. So the water purchase agreement with a public sector, private sector partnership for the demand in Point Lisas, because it takes 3 tons of water to make a ton of methanol, urea, or ammonia. So the thinking then was that you confine the desalinated water as processed water in Point Lisas. The price then and the amount in projected demand was 24 million gallons. The price then was 70 cents US per cubic meter of water. Now the price has increased over the years to $1 cubic meter per water, but the price that the Point Lisas enterprises are paying is $7.50 per cubic meter. So there is a gap. There is not a debt burden. The debt burden came about when the lack of investment in water infrastructure to build a new dam did not take place, but the Manning administration increased the quantum of water from 24 million gallons to 40-something million gallons. And they had planned to build 5 new desalination plants. So in addition to that, we inherited two situations. When the People's Partnership under our leader came into office, the Manning had already negotiated and left to sign that they increased it to 45 and to 60 million gallons per day. And that is the 40 million gallons what continued. Now, so it's $1 US per cubic meter, started off at 70 cents. There is a coordinating committee that is supposed to look at the price arrangements. But you see, the honorable member for San Fernando West has a convenient memory, in the sense that the Manning administration entered into with another desalination plant, 7 Seas, located in Point Fortin. And that Point Fortin water goes to the community in Point Fortin. So there is no major enterprise. Now that water, which has been increased, goes down to Labitco in the estate there. So the concept remained the same. But let me tell you the price of the water that is paid in US dollars, $1.65 for the Point Fortin water. So the economies of scale are there in the Salcott, but the fact of the matter is that because they increase and there is the money now, the water goes into the public water supply system, which is low priced and which is perhaps the cheapest water in this part of the world. That is the problem, and that is why if confined to Point Lisas, lack of investment in the area. Under the member for Siparia, we invested $1.9 billion in water infrastructure, 1,365 projects that increased the water supply to 72% of the country. So don't come here with a back-in-times approach to it. This is not the Me Too movement.
Madam Chairman, could I just get clarification?
Mr. Finance.
Can I just get clarification? We are dealing with a transfer from the Ministry of Public Utilities to the Ministry of Finance to deal with debt servicing. Is it, respectfully, is it appropriate to have a debate on this matter?
The procedure allows a 5-minute intervention, and I think the discussion that preceded the intervention by the member for Chaguanas West was down that route, so I considered it relevant. Member for Tabaquite. Member Hines.
I know it's not a debate, but I just heard the member for Chaguanas West indicate that the last government invested $1.9 billion in water arrangements for the benefit of Trinidad. I merely wanted to know and reflect upon whether $1.4 billion of that went on the Beetham wastewater plant, which is standing idle now and contributing nothing to the welfare of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. to their friend. But true.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2019 appropriation for Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, be decreased by the sum of $255,369,874. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 39, Ministry of Public Utilities, has been varied by a decrease in the sum of $255,369,874. We now go on to increases. Honorable members, we shall now consider the proposals for increases for fiscal year 2019. Head 18, Ministry of Finance. Head 18, Ministry of Finance, an increase of $255,369,874. I shall now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The debt servicing requirements of the government are quite variable, and from time to time you would have an increase or a decrease as the case may be. In this particular case, the funds are required to meet the payment of interest on overdraft with the central bank, which fluctuates based on the size of the overdraft, which fluctuates based on cash flow, income, and expenditure. That's it.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2019 appropriation for Head 18, Ministry of Finance, be varied by an increase in the sum of $255,369,874. Member for Caroni Central.
Would the Minister of Finance indicate to us what is the current state of the central bank overdraft?
I don't have that information.
You don't have the information?
But I can tell you it's not as high as it has always been, and there's an interesting occurrence that occurs every year. The central bank finances the appropriation by payment of profits. The payment of profits is based on the income they derive from the charging of interest on the overdraft and from investment of our reserves, less their expenses. So even though we have to pay this, we get it back.
You get back some.
Very soon afterwards, a couple of months afterwards, we get it back. I can't tell you what the exact status of the overdraft is today. Last time I looked at it, on Friday, it was somewhere in the vicinity of 80%, but then we paid salaries early for the month of January, which is standard. We pay salaries early in December and January. Governments do that. And therefore, we expect the overdraft to go up significantly the next week or so, because salaries and wages have been paid.
Would the minister also indicate, based on the revised limit, which I think now is 20%, what this ceiling is?
I can't tell you that now, but I will answer that in the debate.
Okay.
Member for Caroni East.
Could you just inform the House whether that 20% is 20% of revenue or 20% of expenditure, that the ceiling of the overdraft?
Revenue.
Revenue, all right. Thanks. So if we have to pay $700 million in interest.
It's a different thing altogether. This is on the overdraft at the central bank.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. $700 million interest on central bank. The consolidated fund stands at around what value now, and then what deposits you have to offset?
These are very complex questions you're asking me.
Yeah, but that's why it's complex in my mind. That's why I'm trying to seek the answer.
I mean, the consolidated fund is made up of a series of funds. The unemployment fund, the oil levy fund, the green fund.
Yes.
All sorts of funds, health surcharge, all sorts of funds.
Right, and that is held by the central bank.
Yes.
Around what value that is now?
I don't have that information, but I can give you this evening.
You'll give us this evening?
Yes.
But we
Since you have asked.
we just have a few minutes to study it.
You've asked, I will give you the answer.
Okay, I look forward to getting the
Okay.
answers on that.
Honorable members, the question is that the 2019 appropriation head 18, Ministry of Finance, be increased by the sum of $255,369,874. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Head 18, Ministry of Finance, has been varied by an increase in the sum of $255,369,874. We move on now to write-off of losses. Honorable members, we shall now proceed to the consideration of the proposals for write-off of losses. Head 26, Ministry of Education. Head 26, Ministry of Education, a write-off of losses of $6,908,946.37. I'm sorry. I will now invite the Minister of Education to make a brief opening statement for the maximum of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. This write-off is necessary because of an error that was made by the Ministry of Education during the period 1999 to 2002. And it came about as a result of negotiations with the Chief Personnel Officer and the respective union, the Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association. Government had agreed to revise the salaries and the cost of living allowances for members of the teaching service for the periods 1st of January 1999 to September 30th, 2002, and the necessary guidelines were given. However, there was a mistake in the interpretation of the guidelines, and that resulted in the overpayment of approximately 1,008 teachers who were affected. And as a result, we are asking for a write-off of $6,712,045.92. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the write-off of losses in the sum of $6,908,946.37 for Head 26, the Ministry of Education, be approved. Member for Caroni East.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, do you know of the 1,000 plus teachers who this would have affected, and you're now seeking a write-off for them, whether this would have affected their pension and gratuities? Because from our understanding, pensions and gratuities are not completely paid until all debts and obligations are fulfilled. Now, this is a question that may have arisen at some time. Do you have any idea whether these 1,000 teachers' pensions and gratuities have been held back? Or
that question is very relevant, and based on the information that I received from our financial officers in the Ministry of Education, what happened is those 1,008 teachers received salaries in excess of what they were supposed to be entitled to. They keep their salaries, and therefore their superannuation benefits will be determined on the basis of these salaries, so they will suffer no losses.
but their pensions and gratuities were not held back as a result of the
No.
understanding of this, right? In my time as Minister of Education and Minister when came after, we all have problems about write-offs and so on, and which has to go to Cabinet. I want to make a strong plea. This government has one more year.
One more?
Or 9 months.
1 plus 5.
9 months, and when we will take over. But the issue is, this issue of having to pass files from one person to another to look at increments and so on, and I'm sure you will agree with me, Minister, it's become archaic. And I just want to make a humble suggestion to the government at the moment, whether they can start the process of bringing on information technology and filming all these 16,000 teachers' records, which will assist the Teaching Service Commission as well. So these problems do not continue to exist. And therefore, when we come in, we will take over that issue and refine it.
When you take over?
Yeah.
Member for Moruga Tableland.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, good morning. Just to allay the concerns of the member for Caroni East, those processes are well underway and will be completed before the next government takes place.
That involves the computerization of the information on the teachers, all the teachers, 16,000, whatever.
In fact, that process is almost complete. We're at the point of getting all teachers' position numbers on the IRIS system. So the days of those files and all of that is coming to an end very swiftly.
And where will that be, where will that rest, that information? In what area, which department of the government? Because is it going to be in the central backbone of the government information technology system, or is it going to be isolated?
Well, it's going to reside at the ministry, but also IRIS is governed by public administration, so it will reside there as well.
With IRIS?
As well, yes.
All right, thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $6,908,946.37 for Head 26, Ministry of Education be approved. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The write-off of losses in the sum of $6,908,946.37 for Head 26, Ministry of Education is approved. Thank you, Minister. Head 18, Ministry of Finance. Head 18, Ministry of Finance, a write-off of losses of $93,536.18. I will now invite the Minister of Finance to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes. Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is quite self-explanatory. This happens from time to time. Officers are put in the wrong point in the salary scale and receive payments that they are not strictly entitled to, but it is normal at the end of their term in the public service to make the payment personal to them and not ask them to pay it back.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $93,536.18 for Head 18, the Ministry of Finance be approved. Member for Superior.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Minister of Finance, is this Mr. Rajkumar Bagalu, the defeated candidate of the PNM in the Sangre Grande Corporation?
I have no idea, but I could certainly check for you.
Well, I'm advised that this is the defeated PNM candidate.
And if so, I'm very glad that we are able to assist him.
The question further, Madam,
Yes, Member for Superior.
is how many persons are similarly circumstanced as this person?
I can't tell you, but as and when they arise, we deal with it. Look at the time frame.
And therefore,
October,
Madam,
allow me to finish, please. I didn't interrupt you.
1 minute, Member for
Madam Speaker,
1 minute, Member for
what is
South.
going on? If you look at the period, the overpayment took place between October 1986 and December 2011. So therefore, it is not anything to do with this government. There would be others similarly circumstanced, and as they arise, the tradition is that you make the payment personal to them and you do not ask them to repay the money.
Member for Superior. Member for Superior. Member for Superior.
what is the process? How does it happen that they arise? Is it because they become a PNM candidate that they arise? Or how do they arise? How do they come forward from a list that will be similarly circumstanced?
Madam
Minister.
Chairman, I would like to respond, but I'm hearing a noise from over on my right. The fact that this may be the same person who contested the seat, the district in the Sangre Grande Corporation, as far as I'm concerned, is absolutely irrelevant. I am happy to assist Mr. Bagalu, as I will be happy to assist anybody in similar circumstances. These matters arise as a result of the work of the Auditor General. So the Auditor General will be going
Blame the
through...
Auditor General now.
Madam Speaker, I did not interrupt the member for Siparia. I don't know what her problem is. These matters arise when the Auditor General determines that an overpayment has been made and parliamentary approval is required. The Auditor General has many of these in process. It requires detailed examination. Again, I am happy to be able to assist Mr. Bagaloo.
Member for Vancouver South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard the Minister of Finance indicate to the meeting that there are other persons who are in similar circumstances. Mr. Minister, we would want to know how many, and in addition to that, what is the process that has been used here?
Madam Speaker, I just said it clearly and unambiguously. These matters arise upon a determination by the Auditor General that an overpayment has been made. That is the process. This would have occurred in closing of accounts during the 2010 to 2015 period. You were a junior minister in finance. I'm sure you'd have participated in the process of writing off overpayments to public servants. That's all I have to say.
Member for Aruka Maloney.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I find it incredulous that the member for Siparia will want to pretend that these write-offs of overpayments do not occur, sometimes on a very regular basis. Before us today, we have approval for write-off of losses for the fiscal year 2019. We have Ministry of Education, 1,008 teachers that we are asking for the same thing. Approval of write-off for Neltris Birch, again, for the same reason. Madam Speaker, then we come to Mr. Bagaloo, approval of write-off because of an overpayment. Then in the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, we have an approval.
We ain't reached yet.
Okay, but Madam Speaker, I am just pointing to the fact that it is highly incredulous and very pretentious of the member for Siparia to behave as though Mr. Bagaloo was just plucked out of nowhere, when we have over 1,000 teachers who were in a similar circumstance.
Can we have some order, please?
And pretentious.
1 minute, please, member for. Could we proceed in an orderly fashion so that member for Vancouver South, if you wish to speak, I will allow you to speak. Please, let's have a little order. Member for Aruka Maloney.
Thank you very kindly. This is highly pretentious and it is incredulous. And is it that if Mr. Bagaloo, who is entitled to this, were a PNM person, that they would have said, no, we're not paying him because he's a PNM person? I have to wonder about that. And I'm very disturbed by it, Madam Speaker, because this should not be taking place. And it looks as though it is UNC targeting, Madam Speaker, and we will have none of it.
Member for Siparia.
Highly pretentious and incredulous that a member for Aruka Maloney would stand here to say that I am being pretentious and stand or sit, would stay here in this house. First official day of 2020. To say, you had your say, madam. You had your say. Pretentious and incredulous in the comments that the members made. Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, whilst Minister of Finance says Auditor General brings these forward, I want us to remember the process is, and I do remember the process, that these come to the Cabinet for approval. And this was approved by the PNM Cabinet for Mr. Bagaloo to come into the queue to get his payment. Pay him, of course. But we are asking how many others are similarly circumstanced and who have not jumped to the front of the queue. That's what we are asking.
Can we have some order, please? Member for Laventille West.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, The Auditor General's operations under the Act existed since 1962. And I'm sure, in support of the suggestions by the member for Aruka Maloney, the process that we are discussing here about overpayments and writing them off as personal has happened since 1962 under all governments, including the last government led by the member for Siparia. It is quite normal. I understand the member for Aruka Maloney to be saying to single out that one in the way it was done is to suggest that there was some kind of political patronage. And I think she was quite right to point out that this is quite normal, quite routine, and the member for Siparia and all ministers would have done it in their ministries incessantly over all of the years under the Auditor General's Act. Thank
Madam
you, Madam
Chairman.
Member for Aruka Maloney. Then I'll take you, Minister.
Thank you very kindly, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the member for Siparia if she knows which one of the 1,008 teachers was a PNM candidate. Do you know that? Can she tell me
Madam
whether
Speaker, we are under
Birch,
Minister of Finance,
whether
right of payments,
Birch,
Mr. Rajkumar Bagalu.
whether Neltris Birch was a
That
PNM
went
candidate?
before. We are on
May I-
this item, Madam
Order.
Madam Chair.
Order.
May I also ask a question? Whether they were vexed with Mr. Bagalu after 2011 and therefore did not give him what his due?
Okay, so...
Because it's 2011 when you were in government.
All right. So, Member Faruqa Maloney, I would ask that we leave that line of questioning. I believe Kamuta Manzanilla, you have an intervention you'd like to make? Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister of Finance, just a question concerning, before I ask the other one. Will Mr. Bagalu be denied pension unless this write-off is dealt with and approved? Does this affect his pension, his ability to receive pension?
Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to make 2 points. These things are dealt with when they are sent to us by the Auditor General, so they arise whenever they are sent to us, and therefore, in terms of outstanding matters, I will have to ask the Auditor General about that. With respect to this, yes, certainly, this will affect his termination benefits, and this is why this PNM government is dealing with this matter. As the member Faruqa Maloney pointed out, Mr. Bagalu retired in 2011, and I am happy to assist him and all others in similar circumstances.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. In light of that answer, I would like to ask the Honorable Minister, how many such cases would have come? Because if a write-off is necessary, how many persons are awaiting a write-off of or approvals of overpayment of salary so that they can be entitled?
Member for Kamuta Mansanala, I believe that question has been asked by the member of Siparia, and I believe that there was some indication by the Minister of Finance that that has to come from the Auditor General.
Just to reiterate, when these payments are sent to us, we deal with them expeditiously. It does not matter who it is. It could be a PNM supporter, a UNC supporter, a NAR, a ONR. Once they are public servants and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we deal with them equitably, justly, and expeditiously. And as we get the information, we deal with it.
Member for Kamuta Mansanala, are you through?
Thank you. Therefore, Honorable Minister, are you implying that no other persons have come before Cabinet for approval?
Minister of
Madam
Finance.
Speaker, what is before us is what has been sent to us.
Okay. Member for Laventille West, I believe you wanted to make an intervention.
Recently traversed, Madam Speaker. I was considering, before I close, recently we had a UNC candidate who was campaigning, and when that was detected, he then submitted sick leave ex post facto. I do not know if the member for
Member
Siparia.
for Laventille West. Member for Laventille West. Member for Naparima.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the Minister indicate what systems and procedures are in place to prevent reoccurrence of a situation, these kinds of situations?
Certainly.
Minister of Finance.
In many instances, if you look at this one in particular, Mr. Bagaloo was paid at an incorrect point on the salary scale. In many instances, it may be the fault of the ministry or it may be the fault of the Service Commission. It depends on who is responsible for putting the person at the incorrect point on the salary scale. Since this is the period 86 to 2011, I don't have that information with me at this point in time. But it happens from time to time. It is not a frequent occurrence. If you would look at the records, you will see this does not happen often in the Ministry of Finance in particular.
Member for Naparima.
And, thank you. And Minister, the only time this is picked up is when the Auditor General report is published.
Well, the way it works is you have an internal audit department in a ministry who would be looking at these things, and if they pick up a discrepancy, they then report that to the Permanent Secretary, who would then report it to the Auditor General, and so it goes. Okay?
Member for San Fernando West.
Madam Chair, just to put onto the record, the process of writing off payments for the thousands of persons before us, as a matter of fact, across several heads, originates with the internal departments of ministries. The Auditor General submits correspondence to the effect that there are discrepancies, and these may have arisen, as is in the information before us, in very innocent circumstances. For instance, where someone allegedly held certain qualifications which were then assessed and which were then held to not be sufficient for the particular post that the person was being paid for. In the Ministry of Education, we saw those matters. The information that comes to the Cabinet originates from the Auditor General. And if you look to the documentation before us, there is a historical period that we're treating with, in some instances between 1985 to 2011. The Cabinet, when it receives this information, I can confirm all of the persons sent to the attention of the Cabinet for treatment in this category, which is write-off, and to make the payments personal to these people, all of the persons that came to Cabinet were approved by the Cabinet. The Cabinet can only consider material sent to it in the legitimate process of the Auditor General. To make a scurrilous approach towards the definition of this issue is to be rejected, Madam Chair, because this is not the process in law, and this has stood since 1962 as the process upon our obtaining independence.
Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $93,536.18 for Head 18, Ministry of Finance, be approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The write-off of losses in the sum of $93,536.18 for Head 18, Ministry of Finance, is approved. Thank you, Minister of Finance. Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, a write-off of losses of $122,964.18. I will now invite the Minister of Rural Development and Local Government to make a brief opening statement for a maximum of 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Local Government, I think the explanation is self-explanatory, but it also gives some indication of what happens when you have these overpayments. If you look at Para 20, the overpayment was as a result of an administrative error, which was only discovered at the time of processing the retirement benefits. So it does affect retirement benefits, but it's self-explanatory.
Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $122,964.18 for Head 42, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, be approved. Honorable members, the question is that a write-off of losses in the sum of $122,964.18 for Head 22, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government be approved. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The write-off of losses in the sum of $122,964.18 for Head 42, Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government is approved. Honorable members, please note that a debate for the adoption of the committee's report will take place later today at 1:30 p.m. This meeting of the Standing Finance Committee is now adjourned.